Hey guys, Scott Patton here. You know, probably one of my favorite baits in my whole life has been a spinner bait. I got here on Chickamauga and Lake Okeechobee, and it's amazing how many people I talk to that say they never caught a fish on a spinner bait. And it's just a bait, So a lot of us guys has been fishing for a long time, years ago. We didn't have the chatter baits and jackhammers and all that kind of stuff. And they kind of replaced a spinner bait a little bit. But let me tell you, spinner bait catches a lot of fish. And be honest with you, bass aren't seeing a spinner bait a whole lot because a lot of guys have forgotten about the bait. And a lot of guys honestly just don't have the confidence to use the bait enough to catch fish with it. And a spinner bait is a year-round lure. You can catch fish with it. I don't care what time of year it is, whether it's summertime, wintertime, spring, or fall. On any lake in the country, you can catch fish on a spinner bait. So what I'm going to kind of do is go through some of the spinner baits I use, some of the spinner baits I carry in a boat, the trailers I use, and different blade combinations, and when those baits, the different sizes and stuff like that and colors can be good for you. Some of the trailers I use on spinner baits and some of the things I do to trailers, okay? Because if you're not using spinner baits, you guys, you really need to get you a handful of them and go out and fish these baits and just see how many fish they can catch for you. Years ago, the first big bass I ever caught was on a private lake. I'll never forget it. It was I caught it on a Strike King Prism spinner bait. It is a white and chartreuse, spinner bait, 3/8 ounce Colorado blade, and that's kind of what made me fall in love with spinner baits, and I've fished them forever. Even here now, years later, I'm still fishing them and catching fish on them. I started making my own spinner baits years ago when I was about 15 years old, and I still do that today. 90% of the spinner baits I use are homemade spinner baits. There's different things I like to do to them. And I actually have a lot of my customers buy spinner baits and stuff from me. And I've literally have sold thousands of them. But anyways, let's go through spinner bait fishing. And as I go through showing you different baits and stuff like that, we can kind of talk about different conditions and stuff that, where you may want to pull that spinner bait out and fish it. I'm going to start with it right now because it's fall when I'm doing this video. So we're going to kind of talk about fishing spinner baits to help you get started with spinner baits, or some of you guys that may be fishing spinner baits most of your life, like me, or have a love for them. Maybe I can show you some things that you haven't done. And if you guys see something on here on the videos that I haven't done, you guys leave a comment. Let me see what you guys are doing, So let's just talk spinner baits. And let's get into it right now. All right, guys, I'm going to start out with probably just some of the basic, like a 3/8 ounce and a 1/2 ounce spinner bait. Probably your three basics are going to be, the 1/4 ounce, 3/8, and a 1/2 ounce. Those are three that you definitely need. I use a lot of 3/4 ounce, 1 ounce, and even an 1.5 ounces at times, especially if I'm going to ledge fish. Like I say, let's start out with fall. I will usually use a 3/8 or 1/2 ounce a lot this time of year. I like a tandem Colorado on clear lakes if I'm fishing over grass and stuff like that, because these blades here are going to create more flash. Okay, so you really got to look at your spinnerbait blades on in kind of, they're going to do different things for you. Someone's going to throw more vibration, someone's going to throw vibration and flash, and then someone's going to throw more flash than vibration. And your willow leaf blades, which is what we've got right here, I've got like a number 3 on here and a number 4.5. I'll probably use a 4.5 willow leaf blade the most. I'll use 4, 4.5s, and 5s, okay, are probably the most common that I will use. I'll use bluegill colors a lot, and I'll use shad patterns a lot. Right here's a blue glimmer. That's a good color. This is a shad pattern, more of a clear. I got a little blue glimmer in this. Got a little bit of black in it. It to represent a shad more than anything. And I will use this color more in clear waters, you guys. These are probably my two favorite Clearwater skirt colors, the blue glimmer and then just your shad pattern. All right, guys, this is like I said, the shad pattern I use a lot. I'm going to thread it up on a 3/8 ounce spinnerbait here so you can see that color a little bit better. See it right there, guys. It's just a good natural shad pattern. I got a number 5 willow leaf blade and a 3.5 willow nickel on there with the gold, like I said, number 5 gold on there. Great combination. This bait here is going to throw a lot, these blades here are going to throw a lot of flash. I will normally, more or less, when I'm throwing willow leaf baits, I tend to fish the spinnerbait a lot faster than I would a Colorado or the Indiana style blades, just because, like I said, these blades will draw more flash for you, and you're going to try to draw fish up out of cover, up to come up to eat the bait for you. Okay. I will also use a little 1/4 ounce spinnerbait a whole lot, fishing around laydowns, the back of creeks and stuff like that, ditches and anything like that leading back into creeks. This one here actually has a turtle. It's called a turtle shell blade, and a lot of guys have never used these blades or they've never seen them before, you guys. But this little combination right here catches a lot of numbers of fish for you. A small compact. The blades give off flash and it gives off a good vibration, but they're not too big where the blade itself isn't going to throw off too much vibration. Okay, so you get a combination of flash and vibration out of this, and like I say, this is really a good bait to use when under tough conditions. It's got a smaller hook in it, so I can fish it tighter to cover, to lay down trees and stuff like that. That's something a lot of fishermen don't think about is on their spinner baits is the size hooks. I tend to want to use a big hook in a spinner bait. That's one thing I would do 90% of the time. I'm going to use a 4/0 or a 5/0 hook in a spinner bait because it draws big bites and big fish. But when I'm fishing real thick grass around tree lay downs and stuff like that, I'll probably go to a smaller 2/0 or 3/0 hook because I know this bait's more compact. I can fish this spinner bait around cover and get it through that cover without it hanging and messing up my casts. All right. Another one I'll use too, another combination like this is going to be a small Indiana blade. That's probably, I think that's a number 4. And you can tell that these baits are real similar in size, but this one here is probably going to throw off, the turtle shell is going to throw off a different vibration than the Indiana blade will. This blade really pulls a lot of water, so it gives off a good vibration. I may use this bait probably more in stained water to muddy water when I'm wanting to present and fish a bait real tight to cover, and I'm wanting to present that small profile. And here I'll go to the white. This is a white, blue and chartreuse skirt. This is a flat skirt, you guys. It's different than what just a normal living rubber skirt is. Again, you got the two different ones, and you can see that they're going to give a different profile as far as in the water. But I use both of them, and a lot of times you just got to kind of see what the fish prefer. As far as in the water temperature will play a big part on what skirts I'll use too. I like these flat skirts more in colder water. Water is probably 55 degrees and colder. Anything above that, I usually won't use this bait. That skirt, I'll go to the regular living rubber one and fish it when the water is warmer. Okay. Now, this is going to be, this is a 1 ounce spinnerbait right here. I've got these also in a 3/4 ounce. I'm going to use these in 2 different ways, guys. One thing, the 1 ounce spinnerbait, I'm going to fish it deeper more in the summertime. I'll fish this thing actually on ledges. I may throw a thing and let it fall all the way to the bottom and then just slow roll it back. Catch a lot of fish on it that way. Also, this 1 ounce spinnerbait is good fishing deep grass. If the grass is maybe 7 to 10 to 15 foot deep with water over top of it, you can let that spinnerbait fall down there and just slow roll it over the grass. The thing about it is, a lot of bass, fishing lakes like Sam Rayburn here on Chickamauga, this is really good fishing around deep hydrilla, Sam Rayburn here on Chickamauga. Any lake that has deeper hydrilla, this 1 ounce spinnerbait is really good to fish over that deep grass. It's a bait that a lot of fish aren't seeing in that strike zone, in that depth zone. So, and a lot of guys just don't fish a 1 ounce spinnerbait, but a 1 ounce spinnerbait in that deeper grass, in that deeper water, is a really good fish catching bait. I will also fish this bait on bluff walls, uh, early in the spring, say like in late March, in April, when fish are still holding on these walls, waiting to migrate into the back of these creeks to spawn. This is a real good bait to throw on bluff walls. You can just slow roll it. Big blades. I'll go to even bigger blades than what I got here. I'll go to a 5 or number 6 willow leaf on here. Slow roll that thing on these bluff walls, and it draws a lot of big fish up. That it just looks like a big gizzard shad. What you're representing, you guys, when you're fishing these bigger spinner baits. When I am using this bait like this, in this deeper water, I will go to a bigger trailer. I want a big profile. Whether I go to a white and chartreuse trailer like that right there, I want more color in it. Say if it's a cloudy, rainy day, I may go to the chartreuse with it. If it's not, if it's a sunny day, then I will go to more of a white. And this right here throws off a lot of vibration. It gives a big profile. You're just going to thread that up. Just like that. You want to make sure it's going to be good and straight on your spinner bait. But you can see what kind of profile. That's going to be like a big gizzard shad, you guys. So, and a lot of times early in the spring, your big fish, that's what they're looking for, is those big gizzards coming up. And, you just slow roll this thing. It's going to have a lot of action. And I'm telling you, you'll draw some big bites with it. Another place that this 1 ounce spinnerbait's good is fishing ledges, offshore, late in June and stuff like that. A lot of guys are throwing crankbaits, football jigs, Carolina rigs, drop shots, and everything. Swim baits out there, but a big part of guys, they never fish a big spinnerbait on ledges, and a lot of guys have been doing it for years. This bait here, I'll probably throw it on a 15-pound test line. I'll throw it out there on top of the ledge. I'll let it fall away to the bottom, and then once my line goes slack, I'll just slow roll that spinnerbait down there on the ledges, whether I'm around mussel beds or there's sumps down there. But this is another great bait to fish when you're fishing ledges offshore. And then again, the bass aren't seeing this type of lure in those areas that time of year, especially as heavily pressured as ledges are on most lakes anymore. Almost everybody's out there fishing them. 15, 20 years ago, there weren't a lot of guys out there fishing ledges and stuff like that. But you really got to be thinking, throwing something different that they ain't seen every day. A lot of guys will throw a drop shot and stuff like that. A lot of times you can throw that big spinnerbait out there and slow roll it, and you'll catch fish just because they have not seen it in that strike zone. All right, so, but like I said, you guys, you can just change color trailers. I could take a dye marker and just color the tip of that thing just a little bit. Let me find my dye marker. That's something that's very important in a boat, especially, fishing spinnerbaits, is because I can take and I can just really detail the end of that trailer. I know you can't see what I'm doing, but all I'm doing is coloring the tip of that thing. I want to go on both sides so the fish can see it good. But the dye marker is a lot easier to do than trying to dip it into a bottle of dye, because you can't tell how much of the plastic you got in the dye, but you can see that tail on that. It just adds a little bit more life to it, more color to it, and that right there can draw, and it has drawn me a lot of good strikes. And I'm not just going to do this on the 1 ounce spinnerbait. I'll do this on any size spinnerbait, whether it's the 1/4 ounce, the 3/8 half, or 1 ounce, 3/4, or the 1 ounce. So guys, that's something you can do to a lot of your trailers. We'll kind of talk about the trailers here in just a little bit. Something else is, is the different blade combinations you got. I carry a whole box full of blades out there. You know, this is a color that a lot of guys don't use, and it's copper. Copper can really catch fish a lot. For some reason, I've done really good with copper in early spring. Seems like when the water's cold, it's been real good for me. And I've also done really good with it in muddy, stained water. It seemed like that flash just really stands out in the water better, even better than gold to me when you've got really stained water. You know, this would be a great combination to use this blue, white, and chartreuse spinnerbait with. I'll just thread that on there. And this blue, white, and chartreuse spinnerbait's one of my favorites. But like I say, you can use, you know, that's just a number 4. I'll go to a bigger Colorado blade. I mean, a bigger copper blade on this bait too. But copper is one color that gets overlooked all the time on spinner baits, and it's really hard to find in a lot of places. But you can find them. So you guys don't forget about a color, you know, a copper blade. Most of the time when I'm throwing a copper blade, I'm going to throw an Indiana blade like this, or I'm going to throw a Colorado blade because I'm going to be throwing this thing in dirty water, and I want the flash to stand out, and I want them fish to be able to feel the vibration of the bait. So your copper, again, is going to be really good in stained water, to muddy water. And you want to be able to fish this bait fairly slow because, again, you're going to be fishing it in off-color water, and you want to be able to detect it. That's the whole idea behind the combination of the blue, white, and chartreuse and the copper, is so they can find it in stained to muddy water. So if I'm going to, you know, fishing off-color, you guys, this is probably going to be my number 1 combination I'll go with. You know, this is a 3/4 ounce head. I'll throw it on a 1/2 ounce, 3/8, and a 1/4 ounce. Guys, I know not everybody's going to go out and buy 25 different spinner baits and different combinations, but that's one of the good things about spinner baits. You don't have to, because all the parts are interchangeable. You know, you can get you 3 or 4 1/4 ounce, some 3/8, halves, and, you know, even 3/4 ounce. But if you just buy the 1/4, 3/8, and halves, one thing I do, and it's inexpensive to do, is I'll go out and buy these rubber core sinkers. You can find them at Tackle Warehouse, Bass Pro Shop, and stuff like that. But a lot of guys don't know what these are. But they use them for catfishing and stuff like that. But what I do is, let's say, you know, you just had 3/8 and half, and you wanted to make a 1 ounce spinner bait. This is a 1/4 ounce. So, you know, I could make a 3/4. If I got a 1/2 ounce spinner bait, all I got to do, I can turn the 1/2 ounce into a 3/4 ounce spinner bait real fast. I'm going to take it. You can see that rubber. That's just a piece of rubber, and it's split down in the middle of it right there, you guys. I'm going to just take it, and usually I'll just going to roll that out of there, pull that rubber course out of it, and then I've just got the sinker left. Turn it around where you can see the slit in it right there, you guys. See the slit in it right there. And what you're going to have to do is take your pair of side cutters. It works best. I really need my glasses on to do this, but I'm going to try to attempt it without it. So right where the slit is, I'm going to take and put the side cutters on each side of it. I'm going to kind of go down it. So what I'm doing is I'm spreading that apart. Okay, you see how I just did that right there? See how that spread apart? So you're just going to take it, hold it on each end of it, and go down the side of it, and your side cutter is going to open that up. So then what I'm going to do is I can take this 1/2 ounce spinner bait. I can take that and put it on the shaft of it, just like that right there. I'm going to hold it up towards the skirt. Now I'm going to take my side cutters again. I'm going to just squeeze that back on there, okay? Then I'm just going to squeeze it on there, guys, 2 or 3 different times in place. I want that to be secure on there. I don't want it to be able to slide up and down there. But what I've done right there is I just took a 1/4 ounce rubber core sinker, a 1/2 ounce spinner bait. I just turned that thing into a 3/4 ounce spinner bait. But you can't even see the weight in there, you guys. So that's something I've done for years too. And you don't have to carry, you know, that'll help you eliminate carrying so many spinner baits. Because a 3/4 and a 1 ounce spinner bait is something you're not going to use everywhere. but when you need it, you need it. And the rubber core sinkers, you guys, I'm telling you, is something you want to keep in your spinnerbait box, okay? So let's kind of go through our trailers a little bit now. We've already kind of, I showed you the dye marker. You want to keep one of those with you. Um, but probably my favorite spinnerbait trailer is going to be just a little swim bait body. And what I'll do on that, again, you can take, I'll carry most of the time. I'll just carry them in different color shades, white, because if I want that to be chartreuse, I can color the whole thing chartreuse. Or if you got dye marker or just, dip dye, you could dip that thing in there and make the whole thing chartreuse. But a lot of times, what I'll do instead of the whole thing is I'm going to just take my dye marker. I'm going to take the tail of it, color it real good. Like I say, you want to do both sides. I do this all the time. I have for years. Spinnerbait fishing, you guys. Just put some chartreuse on there. That's going to look real good on a spinnerbait right there. I can take my spinnerbait and just, sometimes you may want to bite the head of it off, to make sure you got the right length on it. So you may not want to use a whole swim bait on there. So right there, that's going to be about right. But if I want to shorten this up, I could take scissors, trim that skirt, bite the head of that thing off, slide it on there, and I'll have that right profile. But you want to make sure you're going to thread that on straight, you guys. Start right in the middle of it. Slide up into it. Just like that. Like I said, it's really important for that to be put on there straight. And you see that right there? That looks even better in the water. But that makes a really good trailer on a spinnerbait. And that chartreuse tail paddling through the water, something that fish just can't stand. It drives them crazy. I'll do that. Of course, we've all used these little split tails like this. This is another good little trailer. Now, one thing you got to watch when you're throwing 1/4 ounce spinnerbaits, guys, you can't overload the blade size and you can't put too much plastic on the hook, because what happens is the buoyancy of the plastic is going to make the bait ride higher. You're not going to have enough weight here to hold this spinnerbait in line, okay, to keep it in tune when you're running it. So that's where I'll use this split tail, because it's more streamlined. I'll just take my scissors. I'll just trim some of that off, okay, because you're losing a lot of plastic. I don't want that much length on there. But I can take this split tail is going to work way better on a 1/4 ounce spinnerbait than something like a big grub and stuff like that, because you just can't. You just not going to move a fish to bait right if you put too much plastic on there, you guys. And plus, when that's pulling, that tail's like if you had this on there and that's pulling, it's going to pull a lot of water. It's going to, like I say, it's just going to make the spinnerbait roll, and you're not going to catch fish if that spinnerbait's not running straight, guys. But you can see that little split tail on there. And again, on this one right here, all you got to do to give a little bit more flash to it, I'm just coloring that tail on the ends of it. You don't want to do a whole lot. You just want a little bit on there. You can see how that changed that spinnerbait right there. Again, just a little bit. That's really going to draw them fish. Like I said, I've done that for years, and that will catch fish for you guys. I'm telling you, it will catch fish. If I got another 1/4 ounce laying here, I don't. But one thing I do down in Florida a lot, one trailer that I use down there a lot in Florida is this is a UV worms. Zoom makes that, but any kind of worm like that with some kind of little paddle tail on it is going to work real good. But I've been using this for years, and it catches a ton of fish. But again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take it up there, hold it up to my spinnerbait right there. That's right there. I'm going to cut that off. All right. Now I'm going to take my dial marker again, you guys. I'm going to simply color it. This little paddle tail, it's really not even a paddle tail. It just, if you never used a UV worm, you need to pick up some of these too, because this is a real good spinnerbait trailer. But it'll work on these little 1/4 ounce spinnerbaits too. I'm gonna just thread that on there. Make sure that tail this way is in line when you put that on there. You don't want it sideways cocked on there. As with any of the trailers, you want to make sure to line up good. And then that right there, it doesn't pull. It'll pull. You can't reel this real fast, but you can reel this thing up real high in the water column over grass and over wood and stuff like that. And that just gives off more vibration than just your straight tail. And this would be good to use. You know, I may throw that in a white and chartreuse or a solid white also, with that little bit of chartreuse on there. And but that has been a good trailer over the years too. Caught hundreds of fish on it, and I've caught 8-9 pound fish on that spinnerbait with that trailer like that too. So even down in Florida, I don't care if you're in Florida or here at home, it seems to really work real good around grass. They really like it. So that's something you can do there too. Probably the last thing we're going to talk about is going to be using a trailer with a spinnerbait, a trailer hook with a spinnerbait, you guys. And this right here, these are Gamakatsus. I use different ones, but Gamakatsu's always got plenty of them out there, and I like their hooks. That's a red one. I usually carry these in like a 2, 3, even a 4/0, depending on where I'm fishing, the size fish I'm catching, and how aggressive the fish have been, or how thick the cover I'm fishing in. Now, if you're fishing super thick cover, you're not going to be able to use their trailer hook because it's going to hang on you. Okay, but I'm telling you, you want to try to use their trailer hook as much as possible with the spinnerbait, because it's going to catch a lot of them short striking fish, and you're going to have short striking fish on some days with the spinnerbait. Let me find a bait here that I want to use. All right, we'll go ahead with this one right here. Now, one thing over the years, you got to watch what trailer you're using when you are the trailer itself, when you're using a trailer hook. Because if you got one that swims, like this right here with a big tail on it and swims, it seems like that wants to wrap around the tail while swimming. It wants to wrap around that trailer hook, and it just tangles it up, and you don't have the right action out of your bait. It just doesn't work good. So most of the time, when I'm going to use a trailer hook, I may not even use a trailer at all, but I will go to a skirt that has a built-in trailer to it, just like that right there, which is part of the skirt. Okay, that's another thing. I may trim that down some. I just tie these myself, so I'll do that a lot of times with a trailer hook. That way the trailer hook doesn't interfere with the action of the tail as you're going. But you can use it with a paddle tail like this, and you can also use it with the twin tail like this, guys. It doesn't seem to wrap on you as much when you're using these type trailers. Okay, but one of the main things I want to get here, I want to do with my tube here. Oh, here it is. All right, now trailer hooks are going to come with, most of them are going to come with some plastic tubing. If not, then you need to find some plastic tubing. Okay, now a lot of guys, I've seen spinnerbaits even come. They'll have that hook over the tube like that. Cut that off. All right. And then they will take that trailer hook, slide it right through the plastic, which a lot of times you got to take a pair of pliers because that plastic's kind of tough, but just work it. The eye on these hooks now, you guys, when you buy these, make sure you buy spinnerbait trailer hooks, because the eyes are made big enough around where you're going to slide over that barb on a spinnerbait. You can't just use any straight shank hook, okay? So right there, that's popped over. Now, if I'm putting my tube over the eye, what's going to do is going to keep that spinnerbait straight like that. It's going to keep that trailer hook straight like that, okay? You see how it is like that? Now, that's one way to rig it like that. And if I'm going to be fishing in thicker cover around, treetops and stuff like that, and I'm trying to get away with using a trailer hook because my fish are short striking at the spinnerbait, this is going to be the way I rig it most, during that time. But the way I use it most of the time is, I'm going to take another one here. The way I use it most of the time is I'm going to take and put the hook over the eye just like that. Okay, you saw how easy that comes off and on because those eyes are bigger and they're made for that spinnerbait. But once I do that, you can't leave that like that. You've got to take another piece of tubing, cut it, and I'm gonna need some needle nose pliers. And you want to cut that just a little bit long, you guys. And I may have got that a little bit too short because I'm gonna hold it just like that because you don't want to really be trying to stick that hook on there while you're holding it like that because you don't have much hold on to, and you end up getting a hook in your hand. So what I'll do is I'm gonna hold it with my pliers like that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use my needle nose pliers. I got that started right there. I'm gonna just work that through that plastic, and it might be tough because you got to work it on there. And you see how that just popped on there right there, you guys? So, and the reason you got to do that, because if not, if you're trying to fish that without that little keeper on there, then that hook, you hook a fish and he's jumping around, stuff like that, he'll throw that hook off that spinnerbait hook. So that right there is just more a keeper to keep that trailer hook on there so when you do hook a fish, it won't come off. All right, but I really like fishing it this way more because it seems like to me that trailer hook will move around more, and it, I can, if I'm not fishing around super thick cover, it'll ride over grass and stuff like that, little pieces of grass like that. I just have always preferred to use the trailer hook this way. But like I say, I've learned that if it's really thick cover, and and especially treetops, I don't, because as that spinnerbaits bounce around, hitting on branches and stuff like that, it'll make that hook bounce around too, and you're more likely to get snagged. But in grass and stuff like that, big lay downs on stumps, I prefer to fish it loose. If I'm fishing it tight in treetops and stuff like that, I want to stay in position. That way, as my spinnerbait's coming through there, it'll glide its way through there, okay? So that's the two different ways I use spinnerbait, trailer hooks. And of course, these are red. I like the red ones. I use the plain nickel ones and stuff too. You have to look a little bit harder to usually find these red trailer hooks, but it just adds a little bit more flash to it. But like I say, I don't always use just the red ones. There's times that I will use the red because it seems like it just draws more strikes for me. So, but that kind of covers everything. It's just the basics, you guys. And I know some of you guys have fished spinner baits. I just kind of want to put this out there for you guys who are not used to using spinner baits and stuff. But like I said at the beginning of the video, if you guys got some spinnerbait tips, leave them down below. Let me know what you guys might be doing. Let me know some of your favorite spinnerbaits, favorite spinnerbait combinations. And I appreciate you guys watching. Again, subscribe, you guys. It means a lot to us. I appreciate you following along. And hopefully this will help you catch a few more fish out there, you guys. It's really getting close to being real good spinnerbait season for me. I use it a lot here on Chickamauga, and with the water temperature start cooling a little bit more, I'll fish it almost every day. But it's just something good to be using. It's something you can add a few more fish to your live well. And good luck, guys. I appreciate it, and we'll catch you next time.